Hey, my name is PolishLynx, this is Irae, and so after a few minutes of running, we reached our apartment complex. That's right, that's what was our goal. And well, let's see if she's there, right? Jumping 3 steps at a time, I flew to her door and started banging on it. I honestly felt like Yakuza debt collector there for a second, but I was being caring. Getting a response, I tried the door knob. I turned out without resistance. With seeking, anxiously growing in my heart, I took a step inside the room. Uh-oh. The room was completely empty, just as Mari had said. I tried looking through the hole leading to my own room, but there was no one there either. That made no sense. It was way too early. The clock had been pointing at 7 o'clock in the morning, and she only ever did her kind of thing after school. The clown didn't have morning practice. Mari, who had been looking over the room behind my back, pointed out the Kasumi's uniform was gone. I thought the spare in the closet, but the one she would always wear was definitely not in the room. She must have left wearing it. There was no other way to explain it. In other words... well, yeah... I couldn't think of another possibility, but in that case, it seemed odd that we never ran to her on our way here. It would make no sense for her to abruptly change the usual route she took to school, but then how early could she have left? Something wasn't right here. Normally, it would make the most sense to try and catch up to her, but I began to doubt if she ever left for school at all. Her door being left unlocked was fishy enough. Kasumi might not have been the most fastidious person in the world, but she at least knew how to lock her damn door, and I know what might have happened. Basically, she's in the club. Already, maybe. Could she have been kidnapped then? Where would they keep her? Just as the wailing angst in my chest had peaked and was about to explode. Started by the sudden sound of the phone, Mari latched onto my shoulder, sending both of us tumbling down the floor. Yeah, it hurt, but I like it. Wait, sure that hurt, but I'm about to get choked here, so get off me already. It's just a goddamn everyday phone. Wait, phone? If possible, I want to avoid getting spotted by these pigs. I showed my right side, who had shown no sign of letting go of my head, and took a closer look at Kasumi's blinking phone. The phone's flat screen displayed an unknown number. I had a bad feeling about this. Considering everything we'd found out so far, it could very well have been a ransom call from the kidnappers. Well, it might also be some asshole trying to sell you some dishes. Yeah. I hope that her inexplicable intuition could help us on this matter, but... Yeah, Ren, you are a dumb bastard. As well, I had no idea what was up with her. Really? But she seemed completely out of it, still crumpled to the floor and mumbling to herself. Huh? I don't understand now. I wish she could have at least taken care to hide her panties. Or no, trying to discuss things with her in that state seemed like wasted effort, so instead focused my attention on the phone. Can you answer it, because the ringing is really annoying? I figured it was out of the question. For all I knew, the situation might have been growing worse and worse with every second I wasted. Ask for it! Thank you. I stilled myself and picked up the receiver. And then... In that moment, I learned that when the stars aligned right, even those most patient could crack. Wait, what is this? I feel like a dingus. Those bird-brained bastards! Mari picked out from behind my shoulder. I handed her the silver in sound. She took a deep breath and calmed down, then pressed it against her ear. I don't feel like explaining the intricacies of phones to her right now. Well, I suppose my anger was uncalled for. If anything, I should have felt thankful to the two bastards. I was merely trying to vent my frustration to someone. I was fully aware of that.
その声マリーちゃん。あんたも無事だったんだね。よかったよかった。
So it happened what I predicted. For knowledge, god damn it. It was just that the upward change of mood sort of made me crack. I ended up running around in panic for absolutely no reason, like some damn idiot, and so the only option left to me at this point was to completely lose my shit. I should have known blockheads number 2 would be just as reckless as number 1. Birds of feather, those two.
かすみちゃん、私が拉致っといたから安心して戻っといて。なんか今もギャーギャーギャーギャーわめいてるしさ。説明責任果たしなさいよ、色男って。そこのブスくれてる人に言っといて。んじゃ、この通話が終わると同時にその電話機は爆発します。ピーッという発信音が鳴った後。
うるさい、黙れ。お前絶対いつかパクられるからな。日本警察なめんなよ、バカ。
I slammed the receiver down so hard it shook the table.
いや、マリー、本当に爆発なんかしないから。
I considered Mari, who had been covering in the corner, pressing her palm against her ears, and took a sigh. She seemed to have remained childlike and blindly trusting despite the recent changes that occurred in her. I was better off keeping jokes to myself around her.
大丈夫なの?
Yeah, I'm sure.
ああ、だいたいどんな仕組みで家電を遠隔爆破させられるんだっていう。
It is kinda possible. And it happened.
するのかよ!
It wasn't a huge explosion or anything, but fumes burst out of the receiver after a relatively loud crackling noise. That Konjo, was she out of her mind?
嘘つき。
あ、まあ、ごめん。
I felt it unfair that I get to be the one to apologize, but at least I knew Kasumi was safe, or rather, as safe as one could be around those two. Although in that case, it made the explanation of the situation that she apparently demanded an extremely troublesome and complicated affair, which I would rather very much avoid. However, escapism wasn't really an option for me, so we took off to the club and got there in about an hour. And a normal person would assume that the door to the nightclub would never be open this early in the morning, but the Baltimans there just simply let us through. It was probably the bouncer. Despite having the build of a pro wrestler, he seemed no more than a papier-mâché tiger to me. Surely that was understandable. I mean, I just walked out of a no-joke, literal hive of monsters. A matter happened to be larger than average might have made me feel meek before, but there wasn't even a hint of fear within me now. Hell, I actually felt peaceful. Marie had always been dense with such things, and this time was no different. She nonchalantly followed me while showing no particular reaction to the huge bouncer. And so...
やあ、おかえり。
We entered the hall and got welcomed by Hanjo.
怪我とかしてない？なんだったら私が見るけど。
いや、大丈夫。
She talked as if she had medical knowledge, but I couldn't care less if she did.
シロとカスミは
寝てるよ、二人とも。起こそっか？
お前さっき、カスミがわめいてるとか言ってただろうが。
いや、そうなんだけどさ、あんまりうるさいから黙らしちゃったよ。ごめんね。けど乱暴はしてないからね。この必殺夢見るハンカチでちょちょいっと。
いい、もうわかった。
Good, good, understandable. It probably had chloroform or something on it. It was borderline, no definitely criminal, but right now I feel grateful to her for silencing the shenanigans. I should also thank her for the fact that they stopped her from going to school. The miss might have been questionable, but I had a hunch that it wouldn't have been too different if I was the one doing it.
まあ礼ならシロに言ってよね。あいつがやれって言ったんだからさ。で、どうする？シロだけでも起こそっか？
後でいいよ。お前とも話がしたいし。
あれれ？前は露骨にすっ込んでるビッチみたいな態度取ってたくせに。
事情が変わったんだよ。それにビッチうんぬんは思ってないぞ。
Exactly.
ねえ、ビッチって何？こいつみたいな女。
Hanjo grinned as she pointed towards me.
つまり気が多くて一人に定まらない。 あっちもこっちもみんな大好き。Love is all。
じゃあ、いい人のことなんだね。
Not really.
そのいい人ってのは、どうしようもないやつを無理やり褒めるときに使う便利な言葉なんだよ。
よくわかっていらっしゃる。
Shut up.
とにかくいいだろう。シローの前に、お前からもちょっと聞きたいことがある。
そんな、私の性感帯なんか聞いてどうすんのよ。下手。
Completing the record talk, I took my scan and walked into the one VIP room.
ちょっと兄さん、どうするですか？
Hey, Anja, you too, Shiro. I think you should know that it's high time for you both to get serious about this. Anyway.
電話爆破の仕掛けが知りたいの？
違うって。
So I have been lying if I said I wasn't curious.
あれはね、別に遠隔とかそんなんじゃなくって、私があそこでかすみちゃんさらった時に直接仕込んだネタなんだよ。具体的に言うと、一回受話器を取って戻したら10秒後にボン。まあ子供の理科実験レベルだよ。そんな真剣に不思議がられても困るっていうか、照れるっていうか、いや褒めたいならありがたく称賛受けるけど。
心配するな、絶対褒めない。
Hell, why did she blow up someone's telephone in the first place? I should tell her off for pulling this stupid shit so nonchalantly, but...
そのことはもういいから、ちょっと真面目に答えてくれ。シロ、あいつ何なんだ？
ん？
俺の知ってるあいつじゃなかった。お前なら知ってるんだろう。
I didn't see how his one-on-one with Wilhelm ended, but there was no doubt that he was even less abnormal than before. He wouldn't even be alive right now if he wasn't.
シロ、重傷とか負ってないのか？
何箇所か脱臼はしてたけどね。でもそんなもんだよ。はめりゃ治るし。それなりに疲れはしたみたいだけどね。日頃あんまり寝ないくせに、今はバタンキューしてるから。
That's what happens. You don't sleep much, and then you are like a log. I know that from my own experience. 3 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours, boom, 12. Yeah, that's how it works, unfortunately.
で、あいつは何者なんだって言われても、レン君は心当たりないわけ？
I had nothing, zero, zilch. There was no denying he was a pretty good brawler and more used to fights than I was. However, I always got him as that one combative delinquent that every school had, and definitely not someone who could go hand to hand with one of those lunatics. After all, Wilhelm always put me down like a sick dog once, and since my battle with Shiro ended in a draw that got us both hospitalized, there was no way he could stand a chance against that Nazi. This could only mean that his change was caused by something that happened to him during the 2 months after he escaped the hospital and met up with Hunter, but what was the something anyway?
あんたはあんまり人のこと詮索するタイプじゃないと思ってたんだけどね。
ああ、柄じゃない。けどそれも時と場合だ。お前らここで引っ込むつもりはないんだろ？俺もまあ、お前らを当てにしてることがあるし、情報交換は必要だろ
う。それって2日遅れの同盟成立と取っていいわけ？ねえ、どうなの？
ああ、そう取っていい。
There was no reason for me to deny their help at this point. I was aware of this for a while now, but my tendency to try and solve everything all by myself was a really bad trait. With my discarding of that pencil, which was more like a stubborn fixation, was probably caused by the feeling of powerlessness. Standing before any card made me realize and understand the burden was too great for me alone. I guess it was safe to say I only became more rational, but whatever in the case, I needed their help.
仲間なら、あいつのことをちゃんと把握しておかないといけない。
仲間なら三角中継してないで直接聞けばいいじゃんよ。
あいつ絶対真面目に答えないだろ。
He'd probably put up the most serious face he had and say that he's a legendary hero chosen by God himself.
だからお前に聞いてんだけど。
実はあいつ神に選ばれた伝説の英雄で。
There she goes.
お前ら思考回路全く同じかよ。
いやいや、どう冗談だからそんなにムキになんないで。
Haven't just smiled and told me to take some deep breaths to calm down. The absolute lack of tension was a striking similarity between them both.
まあでも真面目な話ね。こういうのはちょっとどうかと思うわけよ。やっぱりいかんでしょ。本人がいないところで秘密をベラベラ喋るってのは。あいつがどう思うかは別として。私は好きじゃないのよね。こういうおしゃべり。だいたいほら、マリーちゃんだってつまんない話だから寝ちゃったじゃない。
She wasn't lying. Mari was peacefully sleeping with her eyes closed and her head against my shoulder.
それでもまだ知りたいなら、交換条件ってことでフェアに行こうよ。私は今寝ちゃってるシローのことを話すから、そっちも同じく寝ちゃってるマリーちゃんのことを話して。もしくは、起きてる私たち二人だけのことを話すか。
I'm in for it.
どう？
わかった。
Fine what? One or two? Which do you choose? I nodded.
後者で行こう。お前の言う通り、隠れて噂話ってのは趣味が悪い。
Seemed like I'd have to ask about Shiro straight from the horse's mouth. It wasn't like I didn't trust Honjo or anything, but the idea of spilling Mari's circumstances didn't sit right with me.
オッケー。じゃあ先行はそっちでいいよ。一回につき一問一答。
Uh-huh. And that was how we began our little two-player round of 20 questions! Don't skip that! I wanna know! God damn it. She couldn't make it out. In fact, she couldn't even hear a thing. She was told to wait in the next room if she wanted to hear the whole story, but it wasn't exactly easy to eavesdrop on them from where she was.
いや、でも、ところどころ聞こえなくも。
Maybe indeed, perhaps she was, however there was no denying that it was a challenge. Deep within, Kasumi wanted to kick the door down, break him the room, but even she knew that Ren wouldn't speak a thing if she showed herself. This was her only option. She was peeved about having to follow Kidnap's proposition, but she couldn't deny that it was her only option.
だいたい何よ。
Waiting for her to fall asleep and then disappearing like he did was hardly forgivable in her book. Kasumi couldn't understand why Ren was always so keen on keeping her out of his woes. She did understand that this particular case was way beyond the level of a joke. However, that was exactly why she wanted him to consult her. Ren was the only one who benefited from the bottling it up and worrying all by his lonesome. The tendency of this caused Kasumi more irritation and frustration that she knew how to handle. Well, I won't tell how much irritation and frustration she caused before. Maybe she wouldn't be of much help. True. Maybe she'd even get in the way. Yes, but she thought that maybe she could, if he let her, lessen his burden by working along with him. Not really.
ああ、もう、本当に聞こえないよ。
Good, because eavesdropping is not nice at all. They were mumbling something about arms and legs, but none of it connected for her. Kasumi started to question if breaking it wasn't actually the better idea.
ねえねえ。
Frustrated with those considerations, she, with her ear against the door's edge, waved and called out to the guy slumped on the sofa behind her.
シロ、あんたはいいの？聞かなくて。
ああ、俺は別に興味ねえわ。
Good. That was a straight up lie, for Shiro had an earphone lodged in the ear that Kasumi couldn't see. Of course.
あいつが口割るとすりゃ、特に面識のないエリーになる確率が一番高いし、だからこのセッティングにお前も了解したんだろ。ここはおとなしく待っとこうぜ。気になりゃ後でエリー自体に聞けばいい。
Or you can ask him and stop being annoying.
それはそうだけど。でも。
Yeah, you know, now that I think about it, I never really was a fan of, like, childhood friends. That's true. So yeah, Kasumi drops to the bottom of my liked characters. I mean, it's not like I dislike her, but yeah, she's at the bottom. Definitely. Anyway, Kasumi mumbled something before making this satisfied pout. The fact that she was the very same soft-hearted, lovable, doubtful, and simple with Tsui he knew made him grin.
お前、俺がいない間にチッターレンと進んだか？
Of course not.
進んだって何がよ。
だから実質住んでる部屋同じなんだし、 俺がいなくならできることもやれることも増えるだろうがよ。
できることって、あんたそんな。
んだよ、万年少女かよ。終わってんな、お前。
やかまちゃ
おい、来い。
She was stupid. A real idiot.
でもまあ、お前はそういうところがいいんだろうな、多分。
Yeah.
うるさいわね。あんたこそいきなりいなくなったと思ったらこんなところでフラフラと。
ああ、はいはい。その説教はもういいだろ。何回目だよ。
Yeah, and who'll listen to her
ま
lecturing?
だ一回もちゃんと最後までしてないわよ。
And you are surprised?
じゃあ、あっちの話はもう仕方か？
Of course she won't.
それはダメ。
I knew it! Kasumi snuck out to the edge of the again, but no matter how close she stood, she couldn't get proper grasp on the conversation, which was hardly surprising considering that Shiro and Eddie set it up like that to begin with. Unbeknownst to Kasumi, there was a small amplifier placed between the two rooms, releasing a noise preventing any human voice from being heard on the other side. Nice! With the exception of Hiro listening in on the exchange through a device in Ellie's clothes, it was practically impossible for anyone to hear anything from the neighboring room.
全然聞こえないよ。
Good!
だから今は諦めろって。いいじゃねえか。俺ら二人揃って蚊帳の外っつうことは逆説あいつが蚊帳の外だ。
All she had to do was make Kasumi acknowledge the fact that Tran spoke up about his situation. For she did seem less than satisfied, even she understood that the current setup was the best she could get. This was the display of Shiro's kindness towards his childhood friends. It allowed Tran to go without having to make up some bullshit to hide the truth from Kasumi, who in turn didn't have to be fooled by him. He established what seemed to be the optimal situation for the both of them. Although rather than an act of kindness, it was more of a method of making up for the fact that he was about to use them both for his own gains.
しかし何話してんのかね、あいつらは。
While actually having full grasp of the exchange, he nonchalantly pretended to scratch his chin to fix the small microphone near his mouth.
だいたいエリー、あいつも学校サボりすぎだろ。
だから今一番危ないのは学校なんだよ。
Hunter answered my 15th question.
レン君は引っ越し組だから知らないかもしんないけど、私はここの生まれだからさ。有名？
Whoops. I clicked too fast. Never mind. She was talking about the thing I had from Rayhart. The unbelievable bullshit that this town was boiled by their accomplices who were here before, during, and after World War II.
実際異説俗説入り混じって今じゃ何が正しいのかよくわかんないけど、この町に都合8カ所重要ポイントっていうのがあるらしい。風水とか錬金術とか、まあいろいろ言われてるけど、それを線でつなぐとやばいんだってさ。
I bet it's about alchemy.
その中でもほとんど絶対に近い確率で8個の一つに数えられてるのが
月学なのか。
そう。
The answer gave me a headache. I could feel nothing but rage at myself for not realizing it sooner. Sakura told me that the school was a special place and that it was the reason why she and Rusalka were there. That was why the school was easily the most dangerous place right now. Regardless of whether or not I was there, they had business with it.
なんか朝練っぽい生徒らが何人か登校してたって言ったよね。おかしいんだよそれ。だって今は例の事件で部活動やってなかったはずなんでしょ？
Exactly. Students walk to school in situation they should be, like rats down to the magical song of the Pied Piper. I should graph any of those students and check if they were sane or not. If I did that, then by now I would be...
助かったよ、本庄。
I immediately got up from the sofa, making Mari lose me, ask her support, and wake up in a state of surprise.
どうしたの？いきなり。
今から学校に行く。
Ignoring her confusion, I took her hand and helped her up. I knew that we were hurriedly walking to and fro all morning, but the situation didn't allow us to any rest. My current enemy was either Sakura or Rusalka or both. I had no idea which, but I couldn't just ignore it. Unless I did something, they would succeed in completely resurrecting Rayhart. That was the one thing I had to prevent, no matter the cost.
いいの？このまま行っちゃって。
She was probably asking if I want to see Kasumi and Shiro before taking off.
いい。顔を見ると決心が鈍りそうだ。 それに目でも覚まされたら面倒だろ。
そりゃね、確かに。
Honcho shrugged with a wry smile on her face. In our exchange, I told her pretty much everything I knew. The only exception was that big net about Mari's life. And its end, but other than that, I was all out of cards. I had no idea if she believed everything out of her, but that was completely outside my domain now. We each got our share of info, and that was it. Now each of us had to decide whether or not what we got was the truth.
でもそっか。魂か。液体窒素も効かないとか、どんだけギャグ一歩手前なのよって思ったけど、本当に悪い冗談が相手なんだね。
I would really appreciate it if what I told her made them refrain from getting deeper into this mess.
かすみのことは頼むよ。俺は。
ああ、はいはい。いってらっしゃい。あ、できれば首とか持って帰ってくれると嬉しい。標本にするから。
This woman sure could say some nutty things.
それからこれ、プレゼント。改造してるから地球のどっからでも通話できるよ。
Saying that, she threw me a cell phone.
私とシローの番号入ってるから、何かあったら連絡して。
わかった。
じゃあね、マリーちゃん。あれ、どうしたのかな？私の顔になんかついてる？
さようなら。
エリー。名前ちょっとかぶってるよね、あたしらって。
エリー、そうだね。あなたも私と同じになるよ。
Hey?
そりゃ光栄だわ。すっごい楽しみ。
Say what?
行くぞ。
You mean... I wonder if she means what I think she means. So, you think Ellie will become like Mari. Basically, she will become... you know, part of her own world. And that way she can become the weapon. And I think she will be the weapon for Shiro then? Is that how it will be? If my freaking prediction is correct then. Well, we'll see. Honestly, I didn't understand a thing of what they were saying. I learned from past humor that conversations between females were something that needed to be professionally deciphered for us men to process them. Okay, this is probably no different, just one of the ways women displayed friendship and affection amongst themselves. I registered it accordingly and promptly forget about it. Blissfully unaware of how foolish I was being and what a grave mistake I was making. Guess so. After seeing them off, Ellie held her shoulders and suddenly hummed.
やだな。私震えてる。
Chills unlike those brought by fear were running all over her body. Ellie didn't know why, but looking Mari straight in the eye made her shiver. If she was forced to compare it to anything, she would likely converge on the feeling of being love-struck. She didn't actually swing that way, but her heart was palpitating, and her breath was ragged. She hummed again while tilting her head to the side. Ellie thought that the feeling might be akin to envy. She considered him a good guy, felt bad about what she did, and would be glad if he didn't grow to help her, for he likely would sooner than later. The moment Mari induced those complicated emotions in her, Ellie felt shock, as if the girl had seen through her intentions. That was probably the best way to describe it. Well, not like it mattered anyway.
ちょっと
Which was why it was very, very easy for Ellie to discard all those nonsensical thoughts and meet with Kasumi as she scuttled it from the neighboring room. Their plan worked, and that was good enough.
あいついきなりどこ行っちゃったのよ。
Not your business.
デートしてくるってさ。
デートって
Yeah, that's how it would be. Kasumi looked confused, as for she were contemplating if that really were the case.
なんかすごい真面目な顔して出て行ったけど、そんな雰囲気じゃなかったような。
What are you talking about? Dates need serious plans. I mean, everything needs to be planned there.
じゃあ追いかける？
いや、でもさすがにそれは。
And she will do it. Ellie placed hand on the mom Kasumi's head and looked at the other person while signaling something with her eyes.
シロ、あんたが代わりに経過見届けてきなさいよ。 かすみちゃんそっちの方が気になるみたいだし。
そりゃ別にいいけどよ。なんだお前、ずいぶんそいつに甘いじゃん。気に入ったんか？
なんかチワワみたいで可愛い。
Saying that Ellie caressed Kasumi's head, though it was less of a caress and more of a grin.
痛い痛い痛い痛い。ハゲちゃうから煙出るから。
お前の頭はいつも煙吹いてんだろ。
True.
じゃあま、エリー。
わかってる。
Ignoring Kasumi's complaining, the two looked each other in the eye and shared a smile, as if they agreed on something.
どっちが当たりでも恨みっこなしな。
理想は二人揃ってレアモンゲットなんだけどね。
つうより俺はよ。
Ellie was sitting down, she leaned forward to align his eyes with hers. Kasumi was still between them, for he didn't seem to care.
あいつらみたいな関係も悪くはねえかなと思ってんだよ。
あんた、私に買われたいの？
さあね、言ったろ？どっちでも恨みっこなしだ。
I was correct.
二人とも近いっていうか、私の顔貫通して話すのやめてほしいんだけど。
Well, you can just go out of their way.
起伏のねえ扁平面だから障害物にはなんねえよ。
それはブスっちゅうことか。
ちげえって。
味のある顔ってことよ。例えば？
味ね
え。And a moment later. She randomly, simultaneously Kasumi's cheek, starting her enough to make her jump.
味しねえよ。
ちょっと塩味効きすぎかも。
As Kasumi's stiffening escalated to the point of being almost audible, Shiro sprinkled some sugar on her and began to leave the room.
これで少しは味変わったろ。そいつのことはお前に任せる。俺は行ってくっからよ。
はいはい、いってらっしゃい。てかあんた、なんでそんな都合よく砂糖なんか常備してんのよ。
他にもいろいろあんだぜ。
そう、いろいろね。
Like circumstance of all kinds and sorts, Ellie inched her face for an lick of sugar-coated Kasumi's cheek, only to have her avoided by jumping away with all she had.
美味しそうなスイーツなのに。
Kasumi wanted nothing to do with this patronizing weirdo of a woman. She's the best. All she could do was ask God why she was constantly surrounded by nutcases. Because she wanted to? Because she was a nutcase as well? Anyway, let's end the episode and we'll head to the school in the next one. For now, hope you enjoyed it. I know it's cutting short, it's shorter, but I'm really in need to have some content for future days. And so on. And I doubt I will be able to record after 12 hours long shifts. And before the next day 12 hours long shifts. So yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.